Hello, Shiver Seekers. Are you ready to follow us into the unknown? I'm Cynthia.
And I'm Stephanie. You found the dark oak. Today, I'm going to take you down the rabbit hole, which is the missing case of Christina Whittaker. You are not going to want to miss this part one.
I know this has been a highly requested episode, Stephanie, from our listeners, so I am really curious.
My brain has almost turned to mush researching this case, so I can't wait to turn your brain to mush as well.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Welcome to The Dark Oak, the mystery podcast with purpose. Each month through our charity, the Branch of Hope Foundation, we give a portion of proceeds from our Patreon and our sponsors directly to a nonprofit related to the first episode of the month. That's today. And to find out more, you can hang out to the end of this episode, check out our website, thedarkoak.com, or go over to our Instagram, The Dark Oak Podcast. And Stephanie, I don't know if you can hear it, but of course, my neighbor is having a tree cut down, tree work, and I hear it very loudly, very loud and clear. So listeners, if you hear like a rumble in the background, my neighbor failed to ask me if today was recording day.
Well, that's funny because this morning I woke up saying, we should probably do some hurricane prep around here. And as you know, taking down all those suspicious looking trees is part of that. So maybe they woke up thinking the same thing.
Oh gosh. The fact that two people close to me are thinking hurricane prep, I hope that doesn't mean anything. I hope there's no storms a brewing.
Oh, you know me. I'm just a planner. I cannot help myself. I do think it stems from the fact that I have like 100+ little souls depending on me for life. And I know I am one of those crazy people. Everything will be flooding. And I'm like, I won't leave my chickens. So I have to make sure at least our house is as safe as possible. So that's the pressure I put on myself. Self-induced pressure.
That is some pressure because I kind of have like the opposite effect. Now, of course, I want to make sure no trees come down on my house or a neighbor's or a vehicle. But other than that, I'm like, oh, good. The storm can get rid of some of those limbs I've been meaning to get to. A nice yard cleanup is what I need.
Oh, man. No, your house might be slightly different than my house, even though you have some really, nice established trees in your neighborhood.
Oh, huge. I have huge trees in my yard.
That's true. That's true. We have some of those spindly pine trees, the really scary looking ones that are just like eyeballing your house.
Yeah, there's a couple that I'm like, man, if that thing ever comes down, it'll be scary.
We're screwed.
I know.
Well, just put your sleeping bag in your car. You can come to our place.
Where there's even more trees. That's a great idea, Stephanie.
What are the odds?
Will be prepped.
What are the odds? Well, exactly. I mean, listen, we got the generator. I mean, we are farm folk. We got the generator. Our generator can run all of our lights and our AC. I'm just saying.
Yeah, mine's not quite that big, but I told you last time I wouldn't let my husband run it at night because I was so afraid of the carbon monoxide, or is it carbon dioxide? Carbon monoxide. I get those two confused.
You know what? You're right. Thank you for reminding me of that. And I would like to say, Andy and the kids are invited, and the animals. You can stay alone in your hot house by yourself.
Yeah, only way I'm coming is if I'm wearing an oxygen mask. It's the only way.
Okay, well, no need. Just send Andy. I'm sure he'll be pleased. Pleased to oblige.
That's right. That's right. Well, listeners, before we get into today's episode, I just wanted to talk to you just a little bit about our Patreon and remind our listeners, maybe some of you are new to the Dark Oak, just wanted to remind you guys what our mission is here at the Dark Oak. So when Stephanie and I decided to start this podcast, we knew right away we wanted to have a bigger purpose than just telling other people's really sad stories. So we came up with two ways that we could accomplish that. we decided we would only cover unsolved cases. So that's why we call ourselves a mystery podcast, because we wanted to bring attention to these cases in an effort to hopefully get some resolution for these victims and their families. So that was the first important decision we made in what we would cover here. The second thing that was really important to us was we decided we wanted to give back to these communities, to these victims. And that's when we came up with the Branch of Hope Foundation. We sponsor a nonprofit every month that relates back to one of the cases that we've covered that month. And I'll be honest, in the beginning, we didn't have Patreon members when we first came up with this idea. So that money came out of mine and Stephanie's pocket. We decided we're going to start where we are and we're going to start giving back in whatever way we can. And we did that for several months. And then we started getting new Patreon members and we were able to give more every month, which was super exciting. But even now, we're coming up to our 2-year anniversary. And even now, we're not quite in the black. We have a growing Patreon, which we're really excited about. But we're still covering some of those initial startup costs. Anybody who's ever started anything knows there's initial cost. And with a podcast, there's websites and there's podcast platforms and there's equipment. And then we do giveaways and there's merch and there's postage and artists to pay. So we're still working on recouping those costs while still giving to these charities each month. And we give to those charities regardless of whether there is a profit. That's the first thing we do. We give to these charities. And yes, would it be great to be able to pay ourselves back? And yes, would it be great to be able to eventually get a little paycheck for mine and Stephanie's work? Of course it would. But what is most important to us is the ability to give back to this community. And as we grow, we can do more. We can give back more. Again, we never wanted this podcast to be about Stephanie and I sharing other people's sad stories without having a greater purpose. So I just wanted to take a minute and just remind all of you that is what we are really here for. And I want to thank all of our Patreon members, anybody who's ever supported us. Thank you so much. And we know that you can't support every show you listen to. We totally understand that. But if you're looking for a podcast you would like to support and feel good knowing where some of that money is going, we'd love for you to consider our Patreon. We have a $5 tier and a $10 tier. Both of those tiers get you an extra episode every month. There's other perks. There's little welcome package. There's Patreon only Facebook page. Over on the Patreon, we do a lot more like personal stuff where you kind of get to know Stephanie and myself a little better, little insights into our personal lives and even our friendship and things like that. We're having a lot of fun over there. So consider joining if you are so inclined.
I second everything that you said. I think a few weeks ago, I even made the comment that if you look at our podcast budget, the first line item is our giving. Even when we have been in the red, we still come out of our own pocket to be able to provide, payment to these organizations that we've connected with, that we've made a connection with. We're not going to leave them hanging. And I think pretty solidly through the first year, we paid out of our own pocket, which, again, I'm happy to do. We haven't ever said that on our podcast before, but that is the truth. That is the truth. That is our heart. That is our focus. Like you said, bringing awareness to these cases, but then also being able to support these nonprofits that are helping people around us. We just love that. So yeah, all really great points and all 100% accurate.
That's right. And again, we're having a lot of fun over on the Patreon. So there's a lot in it for you too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely there is. Yeah, I love the case that we just released on our Patreon, The Lost Children, where you told us about the lost children of Colombia who survived a plane crash. It was 4 kids, 13, 9, 4, and 11 months that survived for over a month in the Colombian rainforest by themselves, which is incredible. So if that is of interest to you, please sign up for our Patreon. You have got to listen to that episode. It is wild.
I still don't know how that ended the way it did.
No kidding. And then, of course, Wilson. They need to listen just to get to know Wilson.
Just to get to know Wilson. That's right.
If you know, you know.
That's right.
Oh boy. Okay, which leads us to our case today. I tried to get this into a one-parter. I really did. Up until literally this morning, I was thinking it was going to be a one-parter. And then when I realized my script was twice the size that it normally is, I said, okay, well, this is impossible. So excited to cover this case. As you mentioned, it's a listener request. And what makes it complicated is on its surface, it feels like a very straightforward case. In 2009, Christina Whittaker was a 21-year-old woman living in her hometown of Hannibal, Missouri. She was a brand new mom to a baby girl. And on November 13th, she arranged for babysitting so that she could go out with friends for the first time after giving birth. So 6 months after she had given birth, she decided, okay, I'm going to go meet up with friends.
Okay.
Now, she did meet up with those friends, but by the time the night was over, Christina was gone. No one knew where she went. Nothing, nada. And we're talking about not even very many clues, just vanished.
What a tragedy. The first time you go out after having a baby and you don't come home. Right there, that's just haunting. Because every mother deserves to have a break. Stephanie and I know we talk about it all the time. It's a never-ending job.
Right. What's weird about Christina's story, though, is it's not quite as cut and dried as it may appear on the surface. Because in 2021, a documentary on her disappearance called Relentless was released. And oh my goodness, what a wild journey that was. In my opinion, the documentary almost turned all the facts of this case on their head. And in some instances, it was productive. And in some instances, not at all. Like, it actually just made things more complicated. It's like for every answer you found, it left you with another question mark. Today, I'm going to talk about Christina's last night as it was originally understood. The next week, I'm going into the documentary that was released 11 years after Christina's disappearance and try to pick apart the things that I think make sense and the things that don't. Because there are some things that maybe they're just rumors, there's nothing to substantiate it, and then there are some other things that came to light that I think may have some credibility to them. But they almost seem like two separate cases because of the way they unfold. So again, you need to hear the facts presented today in order for next week to make sense. So hang in there with me. We'll get through this together.
Stephanie's bringing some convoluted cases lately. Phoenix Colden was super convoluted. Wow, Stephanie's really doing some work over there.
You know, I will tell you what's wild is there are a lot of similarities between these cases. I did not plan it like that, but both of them are young women. Christina was 21 when she went missing, and Phoenix was 23. They both live in cities right next to the Mississippi River. They both led lives that presented one way, but once you dig under the surface, you find they may have been involved in other things. It's very strange. And both of them suffered from some possible mental health issues, like a lot of similarities that I did not plan. But as I was writing this, I said, oh my gosh, I remember almost writing the exact same thing about Phoenix's case. So I see why they are similar because we're a mystery podcast, right? So
Right.
The most mysterious cases are the ones that we cover, the ones that have so many question marks. But also, I think it's just the idea of a person just starting their life disappearing. That is so tragic, and it feels so desperate to find them. And maybe that's why I kind of got drawn to these. Now, again, this was a listener request, but it was still one that, you know, I was interested in and one that I think adds a lot of value in talking about her case and talking about what happened to her. Because just like in Phoenix's, could she have disappeared of her own accord by her own hand? Yeah. But could she have also gotten mixed up with people she shouldn't have been mixed up with? Yeah. And somebody knows something, not to be cliche, but somebody knows what happened to Phoenix and somebody knows what happened to Christina. We just have to get the right people to come forward.
Right.
So let me get into what we know or what we think we know. Most of what I'm about to tell you, I have been able to confirm through multiple publications. When we get into the documentary side, I will say some of that is just speculation. Now, rightly so. Some of it, I agree with the speculation. I think, oh, that does kind of fit. However, there's nothing to back that up. Most of what I'm going to tell you today does have something to back it up.
Okay.
Christina was born in 1988 and lived in the Oakwood neighborhood of Hannibal, Missouri. Now, Hannibal may sound familiar to you because it is the birthplace of Mark Twain. And of course, Mark Twain is famous for his novels, The Adventure of Tom Sawyer and Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. It's really cute. There's a bunch of historical sites based on Mark Twain and his books and like many scenes from his books that you can find in Hannibal.
Oh, cute.
And Hannibal itself, as I said, resides on the banks of the Mississippi River. So all the imagery of the Mark Twain riverboats were inspired by his own experiences of living in Hannibal and watching the riverboats.
Of course, that's not why the name Hannibal was familiar to me, but those are all really cute. That's really cute. And now I want to visit Hannibal, the little city.
Hannibal, the little city, not Hannibal, the one that wants to eat your eyeballs.
You know, if I could, I would visit him too. Behind bars.
Yeah, clearly. Well, at least you thought he would be behind bars, but you know, the tricky trickster.
That's right. He's a smart guy, that one.
Now, Christina was the daughter of Cindy Young, who winds up being extremely vocal about her daughter's disappearance. So you're going to hear her name mentioned a lot. So just remember her name, Cindy Young. Christina was the youngest of 3 children and had 2 older brothers. Actually, her mom tells this funny story that for her first 2 babies, the ultrasound tech told her she was going to have girls, but then they turned out to be boys.
Oh.
So for her 3rd one, which wound up being Christina, she told them, like, don't even try. Like,
Sure.
I'm just going to be surprised. And then it wound up being a girl, which is a really cute story.
That is cute. Also a sign of the time because born in the 80s, both my sister and my parents were told both of us were boys.
Is that true?
It is true. Both of us were boys. And
how funny.
Yeah. And
I did not realize there was such a degree of error.
Oh, because back then the ultrasound, it's not like our ultrasounds today. The ultrasounds back then literally looked like the TV with the snow.
Okay, yeah.
Nothing, even our most rudimentary ultrasounds that we get nowadays. So who knows what they were seeing, but not what they thought they were seeing.
Well, that's true. Now that I think about it, the gender of my babies were determined through a blood test. It was like a DNA test. So you're right. I mean, there was no whoopsie there. Like it was what it was. So, okay. Yeah, I can see that. But anyway, so your mom and Christina's mom had a little something in common there. When Christina was 2, her mother, Cindy, married Alex Young, who effectively became her father. From all accounts, well, until we get to the very end, I hope I'm not dropping any bombs here, but it is believed that Christina and Alex had a really great relationship. She considered him her father. He considered her his daughter. There was no separation. There was really no distinguishing. She called him dad. He referred to her as his daughter.
Okay. And she was how old? Young.
She was 2 when they were married.
Okay. So sure, that makes sense.
Yeah. So she really didn't know any other dad.
Right.
Christina was described as warm, loving, trusting, and full of life. She always wanted to make others laugh, and she cared for those around her, and she was specifically fond of her little nephew. And I've seen videos of her playing with this little boy. He is so cute. In these videos I'm watching, he's maybe 4 years old, and he's got like the lightest blonde hair. So cute, like a little cherub. Now, according to her friends, Christina had lots of dreams and aspirations. She wanted to be a dancer. She wanted to be a singer. She wanted to be on Broadway.
Oh,
exactly. A kindred spirit to you, Cynthia.
So she's me.
Yeah. So she just wanted to do all the things.
Yeah.
And again, that goes back to why I think these missing 21 and 22 and 23-year-olds are so impactful, because you do have all those dreams. You're realizing all the things that you could do.
Right. You're just starting. You're
just starting.
You're an adult, and literally the world is yours and you can do whatever you want. And it's such an exciting time. And as you are alluding to, it's such a tragic time to be lost, such a tragic time for your life to end.
For you, for your parents, where they're just beginning to see you kind of spread your wings and then you're just gone.
Right.
I just think that would be, ooh, really unbearable, really awful. On November 13th, 2009, the night of Christina's disappearance, her parents were going out of town, meaning they needed someone to look after Cindy's mother. Cindy's mother was in failing health, so she had moved into the house with Cindy and Alex. So Christina had volunteered to do so. So she brought little baby Alexandria over. So while her parents were out of town, the plan was for her to stay at the house. Now, also living at the house at the time was Christina's older brother, Brian, and Brian's wife. So living at the house was Brian, Brian's wife, Alex, and Cindy. But Alex and Cindy were out of town. So Christina was staying at the house with the baby to help take care of Cindy's mom.
Got it.
It's a lot of players, right?
It's a lot of players, but I got it. I have a clear picture.
All right, great. Now, this particular night, as I mentioned, Christina really wanted to go out and see friends. So she asked her boyfriend, Travis, to come over and stay at her parents' house to watch the baby so she could go out for a few hours with her friends. So Travis didn't have an issue with this. He went ahead and came over to the house. The two of them got the baby ready for bed. So they fed her, they gave her her bath, they put her down to sleep. And then the other adults watched the baby for the few minutes it took Travis to drive Christina up to the bar to drop her off.
Got it.
Now, she started out at Rookie's Sports Bar at 611 Broadway just before 9 p.m. And here's where things definitely start to go south. According to employees at the bar, a friend of Christina's was purchasing shots for her. It was a male friend. I don't know if this friend has ever been identified, but it was just a guy. I don't get the impression that it was a very close friend, but whatever it was, somebody was buying her shots at the bar. And it didn't take long for Christina to become heavily intoxicated. I don't exactly know how many shots she had. I do know, though, that after you give birth, everything is different. The way you metabolize alcohol is different. The way you can handle your alcohol is different. Your hormones make everything different. I don't know if she really was consuming a lot of alcohol or if this was just a whole new uncharted territory for her body and she reacted differently. Either way, it led to her being heavily intoxicated. I'm just leaving the caveat there of, I don't know, as someone who's been a new mom, I know, everything just feels different.
Well, and she's probably got a low tolerance because I'm assuming she didn't drink for at least 9 months. And then she hasn't gone out since the baby. So any drinking she's done has been at home. I'm not generally taking shots at home. So she probably hasn't drank for a while. But even if she has, how many shots does it take to get drunk? If I took 3 shots of tequila, girl, I don't know, is 3 shots a lot? Because that would have me like on the floor.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, around 10:30, Christina called Travis to check on the baby and see how everyone at the house was doing. Travis said that Christina sounded fine and he offered to come pick her up, but she told him that she would try and catch a ride home. This didn't seem unusual to anyone. I got the feeling, Hannibal's a very small town, so I got the feeling that hitching rides with friends or neighbors or associates was not uncommon in this area of town.
And especially if she's out with friends.
Right, exactly. She did tell him, though, if she was unsuccessful in getting a ride, that she would give him a call. Unfortunately, though, none of these plans came to fruition because soon after, Christina became belligerent with the bar staff. So much so that she was kicked out of the bar around 11:45 p.m.
Eek.
Now, we will find out later that she had already been banned from this bar before. Several times, actually. It was only because they were having a special Thanksgiving celebration that the bar allowed her in to begin with.
Oh, so she had a history of getting drunk and belligerent, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we're just going to say that. We're going to say that.
Okay.
Now, when Christina was asked to leave the bar, it didn't go particularly well. She had to be physically escorted out of the bar. And this was every bit the scene you're picturing. Christina was threatening to fight everyone, and well, was probably not her best self in this very moment.
Sounds to me like time to go home.
Unfortunately, either no one told her that or she didn't hear that. Because after being let out the back door of the bar, Christina went back around to the front and tried to re-enter the bar.
Now she's out with friends, right?
I'm saying friends because every single thing that I have read says out with friends. Only one of these friends has been named. According to Christina's mother, she and this friend, while they had a long history with each other, had actually had a falling out and they had not been in communication for months. This was the first time they were meeting back up since their falling out, and her mom didn't know what it was about. But apparently there was some friction between the two of them. I don't know if they had really made up. I don't know that this was the olive branch, like the attempt to make up. Everyone else at the bar just seemed to be more of an associate, in my opinion.
I ask because it seems weird to me. If you and I are out and I get belligerent and am kicked out of a bar, you're going to escort me. You're not going to just let them kick me out and you're going to stick around and keep drinking. So that's why I was asking, because it's strange to me that she gets kicked out and nobody goes with her. But if she just was like meeting up with a bunch of acquaintances who didn't like consider her a close friend and didn't really take any responsibility for her, maybe that explains it. And maybe it doesn't matter. Just from what you've told me so far, that's where my mind went.
Well, you're spot on. And I think it's your spidey sense knowing what's coming next that's kind of like piquing your interest a little bit here. What I will say is I think that Christina might have been a bit of like a bar rat, as in, I mean, I don't want that to come off wrong. That's not, I didn't mean as like a derogatory term, but like, like a mall rat, like somebody that hangs out at the mall. I think she hung out at a lot of those bars. And the idea is you see the same faces, right?
Sure.
So you would call them your friend, but they're not necessarily someone that you would hang out with anywhere outside of this setting.
Okay. And so not somebody who's going to step in and take responsibility for you. If I'm just sitting at a bar and I see somebody else get kicked out, I probably won't feel the need to be like, oh, let me make sure this person makes it home.
Well, and this comes into clearer focus when I tell you the next few minutes of what happened. So when she came back in the door, there were some men that stood up that went and kind of calmed her down and like talked her down. And again, everybody's referred to these guys as friends. However, all they did was just make sure she didn't get arrested, but they didn't leave with her.
Right.
They just made sure she left. You know what I'm saying? So I
Right.
do think you're making a correct distinction that these weren't lifelong friends that were going to have each other's backs.
Sure. Sure.
I think they were familiar faces. I think they all know each other. I think they were all friendly. I think they had fun together, but I don't know that they were the ones that were like going to go to bat for each other.
Gotcha.
So again, your spidey sense was right on. No one left the bar with her, which now means she is outside in a compromising mental state on a very chilly night. I read a report that it was 39 degrees that night in Hannibal.
Ooh.
And she's alone and underdressed.
Right. And in a compromising physical state too, because even if mental, obviously we know her mental capabilities are diminished, being intoxicated, but she probably can't even walk straight.
Oh, you're probably right. You're actually probably right. Now, the next we know, she enters another bar around the corner called River City Billiards. And I guess I should explain, all of these bars that I'm going to talk about are within a block of each other. So it wasn't like a long walk. It was kind of like the strip, if you will, like just turn the corner and you'll find like another entrance to the bar. So they're all pretty centrally located. So I'm mentioning several different establishments, but consider it all kind of in that same central location.
Got it.
Witnesses report that she was asking for a ride when she was in the bar, but she couldn't find one. When no one would help her, she once again became angry, which led to her getting kicked out of the second bar that evening. She then stumbled into the Sportsman bar, where she again asked for a ride, but was again unsuccessful. Now, the bartender at this particular bar, who knew Christina and her family well, overheard Christina having a heated phone conversation with an unknown individual, which left Christina visibly upset. In several articles I've seen, she was even crying. So I'm not sure. I didn't hear it from this witness's own mouth, but many articles have reported that Christina was crying. She was very upset. Whatever it was, she was very upset by this phone call. Now, we have no idea who that phone call was with. We have no idea what it was about. We have no idea why Christina was upset. Now, seeing this, the bartender offered to call Christina a cab. Again, what you've been saying, like, why did nobody do this to begin with? But
Okay.
Christina refused the cab and
Oh, Christina.
and I've heard ran out of the bar. So I'm using ran in like quotation because I don't know. It was never explained to me. Does it mean she literally ran out of the bar or figuratively ran out of the bar?
Right.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if she was literally hightailing it out of there so nobody could grab her, or if she was just like, I'm out of here and just, kind of like stormed out of the bar. I don't know which one it was, but effectively she left the bar and no one knew where she was going.
Mm.
And that was the last confirmed sighting of Christina.
Oh, man. Man.
Yeah. I do feel like there were probably more people that night that had tried to help her, but for whatever reason, she was not open to their assistance.
Which, when you're in that state of mind, sometimes you're not always cooperative. You know what I mean? I've been with people who are intoxicated who cooperative is not the word I would use to describe their behavior in that state. So,
Which is, again, why you got to go with people that love you. You got to go with people that have your
right.
back.
I think that's what just really bums me out, is because it's like, man, if anybody had just insisted, but at the same time, you've got a bartender offering to get you a cab and you refuse it. Like, man, it's just, what a tragedy. What a tragedy.
Yeah, I saw an interview with an anonymous employee of the second bar that she went into, that River City Billiards.
Mhm.
And this anonymous employee said, we kick out 4 people a night out of the bar. I can't check to make sure every single one of them gets in a cab.
Right.
Like,
No, it's true.
I can't. Like, I can't keep track of everyone. Because, of course, when Christina disappeared, everybody pointed the finger and said, you should have done this, you should have done that. You can only do what you can do. And in the end, Christina is an adult who put herself in kind of a very compromising situation. Not victim blaming here, but you can't expect everyone else to also jump up to help her. In an ideal world, would we be able to do that? Absolutely. But if she's unwilling to accept help or is not in a state when she can accept help, what are you going to do? You're going to call the police? You're going to make her get in the car? I'm not sure what you're supposed to do in that situation.
Right. Yeah, me neither. And especially without actually having been there to see, it's real easy for me to be like, well, one of these girls at the bar could have gone outside with her and make sure she made it home safe. That's easy for me to say, but they may have attempted to do that and her not allow it. There's all kinds of things that may have happened that kept that from happening. It sounds to me like Christina wasn't really open to a whole lot of help, at least in the way of a cab home.
That's the impression that I get.
Now, remind me, how close to the Mississippi River are they? Like, okay, and here's what I'm asking. Could she like walk across the street in the dark and fall into the Mississippi River?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to be like, no. Oh, okay. So any number of things could have happened. I'm not familiar
Girl,
with this, but
I am
any
telling
number of
you,
things could have happened.
101 things could have happened to Christina Whittaker falling in the Mississippi River, which was only a half a mile from the bars she was stumbling in and out of. Could have been one of them.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Absolutely. It absolutely could have been the case. I'm not kidding you. Like 101 theories about what could have happened to her. And really, that's one of the easiest ones. She fell in the river.
Well, you know me, that's always my go-to with a missing person. It's always, they're in the river, and I say that, but there's so often a river nearby.
And we'll see. There was a good amount of time. I mean, almost a full 24 hours before anyone started looking for Christina. And that particular area of the Mississippi River is known to be very quick flowing. So if she had fallen in there, I don't know that we would ever find her.
Yikes. And like you said, that's just one possibility. But I'm just thinking if she's not quick on her feet in this state.
Absolutely. Could she have accidentally fallen in? We know she was really upset after that last phone call. Who knows? What if that even brought in some suicidal thoughts? That's a possibility too. We do know some of these substances, especially if you're highly intoxicated, can make you not think clearly. Again, if there was any kind of postpartum depression, that could play a role as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But yeah, that is an absolute 100% real possibility.
Wow.
Now, when Travis woke up the next morning and saw that Christina hadn't come home, he called Christina's mom. Now, Cindy and Alex, hearing this news, cut their trip short and began traveling home. When Christina hadn't called or come home by noon the next day, Cindy reported her daughter as missing. Unfortunately, though, as I said, quite some time had passed before this search for Christina was actually started. So we're talking, again, almost a full 24 hours.
Right. Any number of things could have already happened.
In the morning after her disappearance, around 7 a.m., Christina's cell phone was found lying on the sidewalk near Sportsman's bar. Remember, that was the last place that Christina was seen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the phone was found lying on the ground by a man named Danny Baker. Apparently, Danny and Christina had known each other for a number of years. So when Danny saw Christina's aunt's number in the call log, like her name and number, he realized, okay, it was one of her family members' phones. So he gave the phone to Christina's aunt.
Okay.
The aunt then called Travis, and Travis picked the phone up from the aunt after he got off from work that day. Then he later gave the phone to Cindy. And then 3 days later, the phone was given to investigators.
Okay. So several days before investigators get the phone.
And the phone is not locked.
Okay.
So are you seeing some issues here already with any evidence we can find on this phone?
Right. I mean,
No.
hopefully everybody is being honest about what they did with the phone, but we have no way of knowing for sure.
Well, I will tell you, basically everybody except the aunt in this story is a possible suspect.
Oh, no.
Doesn't help very much. Now, Christina's mom, Cindy, is always spot on ready to confirm that there was absolutely nothing suspicious on the phone. There were no strange texts. There were no strange calls. Nothing out of the ordinary. However, we've never been able to figure out who the last person she talked to was.
And is that we as in we, a collective we? Is that we as in the public, but the police know? Is that who is we?
Anyone that you believe is telling the truth? It's
So
all I can
nobody
say.
knows. The authorities don't know. Nobody's ever been able to come forward and say who that call was to. That's
No.
weird.
All
How
I know
is that possible?
is the last person that had the phone before the police had it was Cindy. Cindy said there was no one on the phone besides friends and family. And in her mind, none of the calls were suspicious. Yet she didn't volunteer who the final call was with. Leaving me to think in my mind, did either Cindy maybe remove some calls from the phone? Or did someone who had the phone before her possibly remove some calls or text messages from that phone?
Sure. I see what you're saying.
Right? I mean, I'm not saying it's necessarily Cindy, but so you have an associate who found the phone at 7 a.m. randomly on the side of the road. You have a family member. Then you have her boyfriend. Then you have the mother. And then you have law enforcement.
Right.
So that's quite the line of people to have had this access to the phone.
Sure.
So just because Cindy said everything was on the up and up, like that doesn't mean anything to me.
Now, if I'm assuming if authorities really wanted to, they could maybe get the records and just confirm. But maybe I'm wrong. And actually, I do know that sometimes even authorities, even with a warrant, have a hard time getting phone records. So
Well,
maybe that's not that easy.
And I don't know if they attempted it and they were unsuccessful or if they never attempted it at all. But the Hannibal Police Department has said they were unable to record anything of significance from the cell phone.
Okay. Interesting. All right.
Now, I do want to add, though, there is something peculiar about Danny Baker. He's at least twice Christina's age. And as we find out, he is also a registered sex offender.
Mm.
So, first of all, my question is, why did Christina have a relationship with this dude? Like, at all? Even in an interview with Cindy, she's like, oh, yeah, we know Danny and Christina had known each other a while. And I'm like, how are you, like, okay with this? Like, what do these two even have in common? The only thing I can think is possibly recreational drugs. Possibly they are just acquaintances at some of these bars. I don't know, but it's a little unusual. I think most would agree.
It is, but okay, so I'm applying that to my own life. And I know people who are twice my age, who if I ran into them in a bar, I might even hang out with them that night. They're not necessarily my friends, but I know them well enough that like, hey, what are you doing here? And sit and throw a couple back. And I actually know a sex offender, a registered sex offender. So if I applied that same situation to me, now I can tell you these people wouldn't necessarily like recognize my phone if they found it laying on the ground. Like I'm not close to them, but I know of people who would be like, oh yeah, I know Cynthia. Does that make sense
Okay.
what I'm saying?
It does. I get the impression Danny Baker was more of the like, I'm always kind of hanging out outside of a bar, just hanging out. Not someone you would know through necessarily like something extracurricular you were doing. It would just be like, I hang out in downtown.
It's quite a big coincidence that the person who just happened to find her phone was someone who knew her and knew her aunt and recognized the number and made the call. That's quite convenient. At the same time, if this really is a super teeny tiny little small town, then maybe everybody knows everybody.
I think that's possible. I absolutely think that's possible. I do find it to be very strange that he would just happen to find her phone lying on the ground at 7 a.m. Like, quite frankly, I just don't think I believe that. Like, we are taking his word that he found that phone in that location at that time.
Okay. Okay. So I see what you're saying. I see what you're alluding to. So it's more his story about
Right.
how he got the phone. Okay. I
Right.
see.
Right. He could have gotten that phone 100 other ways.
Sure. Well, and I guess my question would be like, did you just close down the bar and sleep on the park bench, like outside the bar? What are you doing up at 7 a.m.? Were you at the bar the night before? Probably most people who were out the night before are not up walking the streets at 7 a.m. unless they never went home. So, yes, I agree
Right.
with you. I have questions.
Questions.
Yeah.
Right? Questions. Yeah. Questions. There's
Yeah.
no other way to say it. I don't have a lot of confidence that his story unfolded the way that he's reporting it. He said that he was supposedly walking to his mom's house. I don't know. Maybe he was staying there. Maybe he was living there. Again, maybe he had just closed down the bar and was heading home.
Right.
But I do find it interesting that he just stumbled upon this phone. And you're right. I mean, maybe he did, but I find his past and the relationship that he had with Christina, it makes me question where he's coming from. Like, how did he get that phone?
No, I absolutely see that. And I definitely have questions about his story.
I think I'm viewing this again with question marks because there's also this weird coincidence when you find out there was a hit and run the night of Christina's disappearance very close to the last place she was seen. Apparently, a parked car was hit almost head on by a car that left red paint chips. And the theory would be that Christina was also hit and possibly killed by someone who picked her up and then disposed of her body somewhere.
Yikes.
There was a rumor flying around that Danny could have been the driver of that vehicle. So that would explain finding the phone. Or maybe it wasn't Danny. Maybe Danny saw something happen. Or maybe someone just handed him the phone and said, oh, by the way, just found this laying on the ground. Tell him you found it over here. Maybe he didn't want to like rat out a friend. I don't know. There's just enough weirdness going on that it gives you pause.
So this theory would be this person not only hit a parked car, but also hit Christina.
Right. There's another theory that whoever Christina called to come pick her up could have accidentally hit her.
Okay.
Like she was waiting for someone
Sure.
and they came around the corner and hit her accidentally. But again, we don't know who that person was. We don't know who was supposedly coming to get her.
Right. And see, there's more questions with that, because if it's just an accident, then it's just an accident. Now, if this person was intoxicated or speeding or texting and driving, like something that made them like negligent, that's one thing. But if it's just an accident, if you come around the corner, she's standing in the middle of the road and you hit her, like that's not really your fault.
This
But we
could
don't
be
know.
pure speculation. We don't know.
Right.
We really
Yeah.
don't know. Now, Danny was one of the individuals initially questioned by the Hannibal PD, but it was reported that he suffered from mental health issues, so he could not therefore be used as a reliable witness.
Oh.
So that doesn't really clear things up either.
Yeah. Not be able to take anything he says is okay. Well, that's helpful.
Well, right. And be prepared. This is like the rest of today and next week too. Well,
'Cause I'm-
that's not helpful at all. Thank you.
I know, because it's like everything you're bringing up, like, yeah, okay, but I need more. Why do we think this?
I hate all of it. I will say,
Yeah.
I hate, as I told you, my brain turned to mush because you know me, I'm all like, I did an extra deep dive and I did an extra deep dive and then I found out this and then I found out that. Girl, I have nothing. I'm
Right.
like, it's a theory. That's
But-
all we got.
And
I don't have anything else.
I think that's what happens with these cases. It feels like someone just vanished off the face of the earth and there's no clues. There's no evidence. It's just like, here's every possible scenario. Somebody saw bright lights in the sky the day she disappeared. Maybe it was a UFO, but like you have to bring all that stuff because it's literally
Yeah.
all you have.
Yep. So this could absolutely mean nothing. And it is what it is, guys.
So what you're saying is I'm just going to be real frustrated.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Just like I told you, my brain is mush, and now yours will be too.
She wasn't
Frustrated
lying.
mush. Yeah,
She
frustrated mush
wasn't
here.
lying. Okay.
Now, here we go. Days and weeks passed with no more movement in Christina's case. So the family decided to start canvassing the more seedy areas of town, you know, the ones known for drug distribution and prostitution and general crime activity, to see if anyone had heard about Christina possibly being kidnapped. Like maybe she caught a ride with the wrong person. And that's when Cindy said she first heard the name of Darcy Bookie Morris. Morris was known around town as just like not being a good dude. And I mean like a really not good dude. In 2010, just months after Christina disappeared, he was arrested in Hannibal for felony assault on a law enforcement officer, 4 counts of resisting arrest, property damage, and an active warrant for a prior assault on an officer.
Okay. So a violent man who doesn't want to be arrested.
Wait for this one. In 2014, 36-year-old Morris was sentenced to 25 years in prison in Peoria, Illinois, after pleading guilty to first-degree murder in the July 2013 beating death of John Dunnigan. Morris beat John Dunnigan with a 2x4 while he was attempting to break up a fight.
Wow.
And not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but Morris was interviewed in the 2021 Relentless documentary, and many viewers walked away from that episode believing Morris to be a total psychopath. Like, there's no way he's not like a sociopath, like mental pathology. Now, I personally don't have the ability to diagnose individuals I have never met.
You don't? Well,
No.
Stephanie.
I mean, now we'll talk offline because I've got ideas. But for the record, I am not going to diagnose anyone with a mental illness. But I can, with absolute confidence, say that I believe Morris is, shall we say, wired differently than the majority of us.
Well, he literally beat somebody to death. And correct me, the guy he beat to death was literally trying to break up a fight. He was just an innocent bystander and who's trying to help a situation, and he got beat to death. Yeah,
I don't know how innocent he was in it, but I will say in this particular situation, that's all he was trying to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, sounds like maybe we might have some issues.
I think I can say, I think I could freely say that. That's
He's not
something.
disturbed by violence. We can definitely say that. Like, he's not bothered by violence.
No. And in that interview that, again, I will go more into next week, he's kind of like, yeah, I mean, I do have some issues controlling my anger.
Okay.
I mean, confirmed. Agreed.
Acceptance is the first step.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, yeah, I mean, you know, I just do stupid stuff sometimes. I'm like, I mean, I do stupid stuff too, but I think we have different levels.
Yeah.
You know?
Scary.
Now, the story around town that Cindy heard, and frankly, the story that still circulates today, is that Morris kidnapped Christina, drove her to Peoria, Illinois, held her in a basement, and then either brainwashed her into participating in sex work, like basically selling her into human trafficking, or she wouldn't cooperate, so he murdered her and then disposed of her body.
Well, honestly, out of every potential theory you've brought so far, this is the one where we know the guy actually like has done some bad stuff. So sounds like he would at the very least be capable of doing something like that.
100%. 100%. And we'll see when we get to some other theories again next week. I hate to keep teasing next week, but there's just so much stuff.
Sure.
But you'll see there have been some allegations against people that there's nothing to back it up.
Right.
Like they have no history of violence. They have no history of sexual assault. There's nothing outside of just speculation. This one, I absolutely believe he's capable of it.
Sure.
I don't know if I believe he did it. There are many people that think he's the guy. Like, you don't need to look any further. Buck stops here. He's the guy.
Yeah. What does he say? I'm assuming he denies it.
Oh, absolutely. He denies doing anything about Christina. He claims on the night of Christina's disappearance that he was in Peoria, not in Hannibal. And Peoria is like almost 3-hour drive difference. So you're either in one or the other. And I don't exactly have a clear picture of even why he went back and forth so much. Bookie was definitely a drug dealer. And we find out that he did have a relationship with Christina because he would occasionally sell her drugs. So we do know they had a relationship. And some of Christina's friends have even come out and said, oh, no, I saw him the night of her disappearance because he was coming with drugs. He claims he was in Peoria because he was there for the birth of his daughter. Poor girl. But he was there for the birth of his daughter, so he knows the exact date.
And nobody can confirm? There's no way to confirm whether this guy was in Hannibal or Peoria?
Well, all the people in his camp are confirming his story.
Yeah, but there's no, like, I don't know. Where did she have the baby? In a hospital? Because there should be surveillance.
Well, nobody bothered to look that far.
Oh, okay.
And I think what happened is right after that is when he really started to get caught on all these other charges. So I think they're like, well, he's already going to be in jail for this obvious murder where he beat this man to death with a 2x4. So let's just go with that for now.
Okay.
And if he did wind up disposing of her body, the ongoing rumor, I guess we'll call it at this point because it's unsubstantiated, but several people have come forward saying that he specifically said he disposed of her body at a hog farm.
Oh, well, then we will never find her.
We'll never find it.
Right.
No. Also, hog farms, again, talk about something I did not think when we started a true crime podcast that I would mention so many times.
How often is the answer a hog farm? It really does. It comes up so often. We're like,
isn't that weird?
No, I know. I'm with you. I don't even know that I went into this knowing that hogs will eat a person.
No.
But they will. They'll eat all of you.
I did not think I would be mentioning multiple times people getting consumed by hogs. But, you know, here we are. So if he is the one that, again, killed her, we will not find anything of her. However, I will say this is the theory that Cindy talks about the most.
Oh.
Because her theory is that Christina was kidnapped, taken to Peoria. Again, I'm not sure why Peoria. Like, why? Because if you're looking at just big cities closest to Hannibal, like St. Louis is really close as well. Which, again, talk about a weird parallel between Christina and Phoenix. Like St. Louis would have been the next bit, like closest city to her. So I'm not sure why Peoria, Illinois keeps getting brought up.
But
But
that's where
Cindy
he
thinks,
lived, right?
well, that's where he lived.
Right.
But Cindy thinks that Christina is alive and living in Peoria.
As a
So
sex,
she
as like a
thinks,
sex slave.
yes, no, maybe. So
Okay.
what she thinks is she was kidnapped by either Morris or someone else, taken to Peoria, brainwashed, and put into sex trafficking or sex slavery, but she has since been released and is bouncing around like from homeless camp to homeless camp or shelter or whatever it is. And at this point, Cindy is basically continually mining for eyewitnesses to come forward in Peoria. Like she's not even looking really in Hannibal. She only thinks she's in Peoria. And to that point, there have been a lot of sightings of Christina. I mean, quote, Christina. None of them have ever panned out, but critics have said, how hard is it to find a white girl with red hair? Like that, like as in the description could be anybody. So
They're saying it would be easy for her to be living there, but not be like found, is what they're saying.
no, they're saying it's easy for eyewitnesses to confuse someone else for Christina.
Okay. Any white girl with red hair, they're going to say is Christina.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, I I don't know. I'm a white girl with red hair. I don't know what Christina looks like, but I don't know. Something tells me people wouldn't look at me and think I was Christina. I'm like, okay, I don't know if I buy that.
I don't know either. I do personally find it unlikely that she's still living in Peoria. I mean, maybe she is, because we'll find out. There is also a theory that she went to Peoria to escape her family. So could she be in Peoria and not want to come home? Or, as Cindy says, feel like she can't come home because of X, Y, or Z? You name it. Again, I don't have the answers.
Right, yeah. Oy. I would want to know more about why her mother believes this to be true. Is she just holding out hope that she's alive? Does she have reason to believe she's alive? Is it because people keep like having sightings and so she's like, okay, she must be there and this must be what happened? Like that's I guess what I would want to know. Why does Cindy believe this? Because I would think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I would think that a person's natural, at least my natural inclination would be to jump to the worst. They haven't come home. There's probably a reason. They're probably not going to. I don't know that I'm the kind of person who would like hold out hope. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a pessimist. So it's interesting to me that her being dead isn't an option for Cindy, but instead she's alive, she's free, she's just brainwashed. You see what I'm saying?
I think of all the options you brought up, the unwillingness to even consider death as an option. I think Cindy has some guilt about Christina being gone. I think it's having a hard time with that introspection, because if she's
Gotcha.
dead, you have to somehow process that guilt as well. If she's still alive, it still gives you hope. I think it's the fact that the sightings do keep coming in. I think it's a combination of everything.
Sure.
I really do. I think it's a combination of her being unwilling to consider other options. And I think it's the fact that people keep saying, oh, we saw her. And so to her, it's like the next carrot. It's like the next lifeline she can grab onto. And as long as those keep coming, I think she's going to keep grabbing onto them.
Well, and I will say that if I had a missing child and I kept hearing, we saw her, and they all place her in a same general area, I promise you I'd be going to that area and looking for her. So I do get that. Like, I do get that.
What does become evident when you watch the documentary and see her actively working on some of these leads, though, there are some of them she's kind of dogged about, like, yep, we're driving to Peoria. We got another sighting. We're going to go see if we can find her. But then there are others that she just kind of takes as fact without even looking into them. She's like, oh, well, somebody saw her at this restaurant. I mean, I know that had to be her.
Sure.
She absolutely loves her daughter. And I want to say that too before we get into next week, because there are some things that she does that are really questionable, but I do believe she loves her daughter, and she has basically imagined the life that Christina has, and she imagines her living it, like day to day, like what she's doing. And again, in Cindy's theory, she's no longer in sex work anymore. She's off kind of living her life, doing her thing.
Sure.
Maybe she is, maybe she isn't. I personally find that unlikely at this point, but who's to say that Cindy's not right? It's possible.
Well, hopefully she is, but I get it. Maybe she's just trying to survive. Maybe Cindy's just trying to survive,
I think it's 80% survival, 20%. Well, that's a lead that could mean something.
Okay.
Sure. Now, Hannibal Police Department has conducted interviews in relation to Christina's disappearance. Unfortunately, investigators could not find any surveillance footage of her movements that night or any other evidence that would point to where Christina was heading or with whom. Hannibal isn't very large. In fact, its population was only about 17,000 at the time of Christina's disappearance. So almost everyone knew each other. Number one, I think it's strange that no one would give Christina a ride, unless, again, this is something that happened regularly. The belligerence is kind of concerning to me.
Even when you said it, I was like, okay, I'm really trying not to judge. And again, I don't know what kind of reputation she had and stuff, but if a girl comes in clearly intoxicated and says, can you please give me a ride home? And you know her, how are you not? I don't know. I don't know how you don't. But like you said, I don't know if she's doing it like every weekend or if she's going to get violent with you on the way home or jump out of your moving vehicle. Like, we don't know. She had a history of getting obviously belligerent. She's been kicked out of multiple bars multiple times. So without personally being in that situation, I guess I can't really judge.
As Christina Fontana, the producer and director of the Relentless documentary, told Fox News, quote, "This is a very small town of about 17,000 people. When you engage with the locals, they all have one thing in common to say. There are a lot of rumors in Hannibal, and nothing is what it seems." End quote.
Well, that's helpful, huh?
Helpful, exactly.
Nothing is what it seems, and it's full of rumors.
Clear as mud.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you for that. What an informative episode this is.
It's just like, man, these are some of the most, I hate to use the word fascinating because we're talking about a missing person, but these are some of the most, like, I guess, fascinating, for lack of a better word, when someone just disappears off the face of the earth. But they're also the most frustrating because it's like, what in the world happened? Yeah. And at the same time, like you've mentioned, there's any number of things that could have happened. She could have been in the river. She could have been hit by a car. She could have been picked up by a bad guy she knew. She could have been picked up by a bad guy she didn't know. She could have fallen into a hole. I mean, how many things could have gone wrong?
Yep. All of that.
Right.
Everything you said. I'd even throw in the UFO lights at this point. That's where we are.
Right.
It is disappointing, though, that so many people around Christina were not looking out for her best interest. This case is hard because there are so many suspects.
You have mentioned a lot of unsavory people. You know, we've got sex offenders. We've got people who beat other people to death with 2x4s. We've got drug addicts and drug dealers. And there's just a lot of people here who maybe aren't always on the up and up.
Yeah. Now, as far as the Hannibal Police Department was and is concerned, there is no evidence of foul play. So I have never heard them say what they think happened outside of saying there was no evidence of foul play.
It's interesting.
It is, but it isn't.
There isn't evidence of foul play.
But that doesn't mean there wasn't.
Right. And so I guess that would be my question. Do they think it was just an accident or she went missing on her own? Or can they just honestly just say the facts? There is no evidence of foul play.
I don't disagree with their statements. There is no evidence of foul play. But that doesn't mean she just didn't get in a car and foul play happened somewhere else.
Right. I just normally when I hear that, and maybe it's me, maybe I'm adding something that people aren't saying, but normally when I hear that, I just think, oh, they think it was an accident, or she just wandered off on her own, or something like that. That's how I interpret. There's no evidence of foul play, but I guess that's not really what they're saying.
Okay, so teaser.
Oh, okay.
Teaser. The police department is totally corrupt as well.
Oh, I just got chilled.
Yeah.
I just got
Yeah. On the documentary that we're going to talk about, they do not make an appearance. They don't even make a statement on the documentary about Christina's case, and I will go into the reasons why they don't.
Yuck.
But essentially by saying there's no evidence of foul play, they are able to kind of wash their hands of it.
Sure.
Right? There's nothing
Well,
more to
sure.
look at. Exactly. There's nothing for us to do.
Yikes.
So them just saying there's no evidence of foul play honestly doesn't mean anything to me, like everything else in this case. That doesn't exactly clear anything up. So thank you
Right.
for that. Now, on the 10th anniversary of Christina's disappearance, Cindy Young appeared on a local ABC7 news broadcast where she took the opportunity to address her daughter directly. She said, quote, "Christina, if you see this, honey, please contact me. Please give just a call. No one's going to make you do anything you don't want to do. We all need you. We need you back home. You don't have to come if you don't want, but at least call me and let me know you're okay. I need to hear your voice. I just want you to know I love you with all my heart. You are my little hero, little survivor. I'm so proud of you. You've got nothing to be ashamed of." End quote.
Oh.
So that's kind of it. Like, that's kind of the end of what we know. Question mark.
Right.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you can say that.
We
Like,
don't know half of that, Stephanie.
wait, sorry. Well, it's just gonna get weirder from here.
Right.
So,
oh, man, how sad.
but those are kind of the bullet points of what happened on her last night.
Okay. Well, let me tell you, I've got full anticipation for next week, because if this is just the top of the iceberg right here, man.
It's going to be a long episode next week too. This easily could have been a 3-parter, but I'm not going to let you hang on that long. I'm going to give you all the goodies next week. So definitely come back for that. So basically, I'm going to dissect that 6-part series. So it's a 6-part series that was recorded over 11 years, by the way.
Wow.
I don't know if I included it in there. It's footage and investigation and interviews over 11 years that was finally put out again like 4 years ago. I can't say it clears much up, but it does give some more insight into what Christina might have been going through and what might have been happening in the town at that time that may have contributed to Christina's disappearance.
All right. I can't wait to hear it.
As we talked about at the beginning of this episode, this is our first episode of the month and one where we present a new Branch of Hope sponsored organization. So based on the most prominent theory presented today, Christina possibly was introduced to sex trafficking. So we are going to be sponsoring the Exodus Road. Now, the Exodus Road is an expert at intervening to liberate individuals who are currently trapped in human trafficking. They train local operatives to identify victims of human trafficking, gather evidence to build effective cases for law enforcement, and support law enforcement in operations to free victims. They've helped free more than 1,500 women and children from sex trafficking.
That's
1,500, Cynthia.
incredible. That's incredible.
And I mean, we're going to need an amen after this. They have also aided in the arrest of more than 800 traffickers.
Amen.
Right.
Hallelujah.
Exactly. Hallelujah. Raise your hands in praise. So we are very pleased to support the Exodus Road. Now, they are one in a whole network of organizations, just like we talked about Spark last week. Spark is kind of the legal end of stalking. You know, they help with the law part. So they help make sure that the laws are supporting victims. Exodus Road are the ones in the human trafficking network that are helping to free the victims. Like, they are working in co-op undercover missions to find where these individuals are being held, and again, to arrest the traffickers that are holding these victims. So they are like the boots on the ground portion of the exercise. So I'm really happy to be able to support them, and they are doing excellent, excellent work. And I don't know if that's what happened to Christina. I know for sure that that's what Cindy thinks happened to her. Again, she doesn't think she's in it currently, but she thinks that's the reason she was kidnapped in the first place. So again, I don't know if I believe it necessarily fits in her case, but I do know that it affects many around our country. So it is absolutely a worthy organization for us to contribute to. So know that if you are part of our Patreon, a portion of your subscription is going to go to the Exodus Road, and your dollars are going to go do some good. You're going to do some good work in our country. And we appreciate you. Yeah, we appreciate you being part of that with us.
That's right. And the more Patreon members we have, the more we can give to these nonprofits each month, which is really exciting. How amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's kind of it. Come back next week for more Christina Whittaker goodies. This poor girl, watching all these home videos of her, and man, youth. This beautiful young girl.
And I can't help but to think of a little girl, Alexandria, who never got to know her mother.
Yep. So we'll talk about her a little bit. I mean, at this point, okay, so she was 6 months in 2009. So yeah, she's a full-on teenager now.
Yeah.
What's interesting about the documentary as well is, again, because that was recorded over 11 years, you kind of get to see Alexandria grow up.
Wow.
As well. Wow. Talking about her mom and showing pictures of her mom, and heartbreaking. Yeah. Really heartbreaking.
It's rough.
So, okay. Thanks for joining us, guys. We appreciate you so, so much.
We truly do. Hey, we're watching our numbers grow. Thank you so much for telling your friends, spreading the word, and leaving reviews and all of that. We've had a real uptick in listens over the last several weeks. This last week has been incredible. And thank you so much. It means so much to know that what we're doing means something to you, and we can all work together to spread awareness on these cases and do so much good. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, guys. We love ya.
Love ya. Bye.
Bye. This episode of The Dark Oak was created, researched, written, recorded, hosted, edited, published, and marketed by Cynthia and Stephanie of Just Us Gals Productions, and made possible by you, our shiver-seeking listener. Special thanks goes to Justice Himes for our incredible artwork and Ryan Creep for our amazing music.